The year was 2124 when the ships came. Not just one or two, but a fleet of them. They hung in Earth's sky like metal moons, silent and still. The ships belonged to the Galactic Council, an organization of advanced alien races that govern most of the known galaxy. They had discovered Earth. They had discovered humanity. Commander David Brooks stood inside his hidden facility buried deep beneath the mountains of Colorado. The facility was old, built generations ago by his grandfather when the first contact happened. His grandfather had kept the secret well. He had kept the knowledge of the aliens hidden from the rest of the world. Nobody knew the truth. Nobody knew that Earth had been noticed by beings far more advanced than any human alive. David watched the screen showing the Council's arrival. The transmission was coming through an old satellite his grandfather had managed to keep hidden for decades. The Council was debating. David could see their discussion on the screens. There were 5 Council members visible, representing the Krull, the Vorthan, the Nixian, the Sellers, and the Karthus. They were discussing humanity's fate. The Krull representative was large and gray, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed with cold intelligence. Its name was Ambassador Krull 7. It spoke first, and its voice came through the translator in perfect English. "This species is dangerous," Krull 7 said. "They are violent. They destroy their own world. They fight among themselves constantly. They cannot even keep their own planet clean. They poison their water. They burn their air. They are not ready for the stars." The Vorthan representative, Shenkel, disagreed. His body was thin and blue, covered in patterns that shifted as he moved. "They show potential," Shenkel said. "Yes, they are young. Yes, they make mistakes. But they also show creativity. They have built amazing things for being so young. They have developed nuclear power. They have reached their moon. They deserve a chance." Ambassador Krull 7 shook his large head. "They deserve nothing. If we bring them into the galactic fold, they will only cause trouble. They will consume resources. They will fight with our allies. They will become a problem we cannot control. I vote for abandonment. We leave them here. We do nothing. We give them no knowledge, no technology, no help. We let them fend for themselves." The other council members debated for hours. David watched the entire discussion. He listened to each argument. Some council members thought humanity could be saved. Some thought humanity was hopeless. Some thought humanity was too dangerous. In the end, the vote was close. 3 members voted for abandonment. 2 voted for contact and assistance. The Krull had won. Humanity would be abandoned, but there was more. Krull 7 proposed an additional measure. If humanity ever reached the stars on their own, if they ever became advanced enough to travel beyond their solar system, they would be classified as a threat to galactic security. They would be destroyed. All of them. The entire human race would be eliminated. This was the only way, Krull 7 argued, to ensure humanity could not cause problems in the future. The Council voted on this too. It passed, 3-2. Humanity was not just abandoned. Humanity was marked for extinction if they ever became too advanced. David sat in silence when the transmission ended. He was 52 years old. He had spent his entire life preparing for contact with alien life. His grandfather had raised him with this knowledge. His father had continued the work. Now David understood his purpose. He had to save humanity from extinction. He walked through the facility to the archive room. Shelves filled every wall, stacked with papers and hard drives and old computer systems. This was where his grandfather had stored everything he learned from that first contact with the Krull. It contained information about space travel. It contained technology designs. It contained knowledge that could push humanity forward by decades, but it was forbidden knowledge. If David revealed it, the Council would know that humans had the information. They would know that humanity was being helped. They would accelerate their extinction plan. David had to think carefully. He had to find another way. That night, David made his first decision. He would destroy any record of alien contact. He would erase all public evidence. He would make it seem like the Council had never come to Earth. Nobody would know that humanity had been judged and found wanting. Nobody would know about the extinction order hanging over their heads. His second decision was harder. He would use his grandfather's knowledge to help humanity advance in secret. He would create a network of hidden research facilities across the world. He would recruit the brightest minds from every nation. He would tell them lies about where the knowledge came from. They would believe they were discovering things on their own, but they would be rediscovering things the Krell had already created. It would take time. Generations, probably. But humanity would advance. Humanity would survive. And when the moment came, humanity would be ready. David walked to the window of his facility. He could not see the sky from here, but he knew it was there. Somewhere up there, the Krell ships were leaving. They thought Earth was finished. They thought humanity was just another primitive species that would burn itself out eventually. They did not know about David Brooks. They did not know about the determination that burned in his heart. He made his third decision that night. He would not tell anyone the truth about the vote. He would not tell them about the extinction order. The truth would come later, when humanity was strong enough to survive it. For now, humanity needed hope, not fear. They needed purpose, not despair. David destroyed the transmission equipment. He burned all physical records of the Council's visit. He hid the digital files so deep that nobody would find them for 100 years. Then he began the real work. He began the work of saving humanity without letting humanity know they needed saving. The secret would be kept in his facility. The secret would be passed down through his family, generation after generation. And when the time came, when humanity had advanced far enough, the secret would be revealed. The human race would learn the truth, and they would understand why they had fought so hard to survive. Outside the facility, David could hear the wind moving through the mountain pass. He could hear the sound of Earth itself, the wind and the trees and the distant sound of a river. This was the world the Krell had abandoned. This was the world they had marked for death. David Brooks made a silent vow. Earth would not die. Humanity would not disappear. They would survive. They would advance. And one day, they would face the Galactic Council again. And they would make sure the Council remembered that they had made a terrible mistake the day they abandoned humanity to perish. The Mars colony was home to 2,000 people. Dr. Elena Martinez stood in the observation dome and looked out at the rust-colored landscape. It was the year 2304, almost 200 years since her great-great-grandfather, David Brooks, had hidden the truth from the world. Elena was 41 years old, and she was about to change everything. She held a data crystal in her hand. The crystal contained files that had been locked away for 2 centuries. Her grandfather, Marcus Brooks, had given her the code to access them just before he died. She had spent the last 3 months reading everything. The visits from the Council. The debate about humanity's worth. The vote to abandon Earth. The extinction order hanging over every human head. It was too much to carry alone. Elena had told nobody. She had not even told her husband. But she knew what she had to do. The human race had to advance. The human race had to become strong. And they had to do it in secret, without letting anyone know why they were fighting so hard. Elena's work as a deep space explorer gave her the perfect cover. She had already been planning a mission to explore the region of space beyond Neptune. A routine survey mission, she had told the government. Nothing special. Just mapping and research. Nobody questioned it. Nobody knew what she was really looking for. The probe had found something 3 months ago. A council monitoring station, hidden behind an asteroid. It was small, no bigger than a house. But it was definitely alien technology. Elena had studied it with equipment salvaged from her great-great-grandfather's files. The station was old, maybe 80 years old. The council had been watching humanity the entire time. They had been waiting for humanity to fail, waiting to execute their extinction plan. Elena took the crystal and walked to the research terminal. She inserted it and pulled up the files on the central monitor. She had memorized most of it already, but seeing it displayed on a large screen made it feel more real, more terrible. The sound of footsteps made her turn. Dr. Kevin Hayes, her second-in-command, appeared in the doorway. Kevin was 43, with dark hair and a serious expression. He had worked with Elena for 5 years. He had earned her trust completely. "You wanted to see me?" Kevin asked. He could see something was wrong. Elena's hands were shaking. "Close the door," Elena said, "and do not tell anyone you were here." Kevin's face went pale. He closed the door and locked it. Then he came to stand beside Elena at the monitor. "What is this?" he asked. Elena told him everything. She told him about the council. She told him about the vote. She told him about her great-great-grandfather. She told him about the extinction order. It took an hour. When she was done, Kevin sat down heavily in a chair. "They are coming for us," Kevin said quietly. "The council. They are going to try to kill us." "Maybe," Elena said. "Or maybe we will stop them first." Kevin looked at her. "How?" "We cannot fight the entire galaxy." "Not alone," Elena agreed. "But humanity is not alone. And the council is not united. From what I have read in my ancestors' files, there are species within the council that disagreed with the abandonment. There are individuals who think what the council did was wrong." 3 days later, Elena was out in a small exploration ship, heading toward the council monitoring station. She had told the colony she was collecting samples. Nobody questioned her. She had been collecting samples her entire career. The monitoring station was exactly where the probe had found it. Elena approached it slowly and carefully. She did not know if it was active. She did not know if it would attack. But she had to take the chance. She docked her ship with the station and waited. Nothing happened. Elena entered the station carefully, her heart pounding in her chest. The station was quiet. Lights still glowed on the control panels. Systems were still running. Elena moved through the corridors until she reached the main control room. A ship was docked at the station. Elena's breath caught in her throat. The ship was much larger than her exploration vessel. It was a council ship, a patrol vessel from the design. And it was occupied. Elena moved quickly to the control panel and began typing commands. It took her several minutes to figure out the interface. The technology was alien, but the basic logic was similar to human computers. She was able to access the camera feeds. There was one being on the ship, a Vorthan, tall and blue, exactly like the one she had seen in the files. The being was sleeping, or perhaps it was in some kind of rest state. Elena made a decision. She moved to the airlock and opened it. Then she activated the station's lockdown protocols. The docking clamps sealed around the alien ship, preventing it from undocking. Alarms began to sound. The being on the ship woke up. Elena watched on the camera as the Vorthan stood and looked around, confused. Then it moved toward the control room. Elena moved back to the main corridor, blocking the way. The airlock opened. The Vorthan stepped through. It was 7 feet tall and very thin. Its skin was a deep blue, covered with patterns that shifted and moved. Its eyes were large and black. It looked at Elena, and Elena knew she was facing either her death or the future of humanity. "What are you?" the Vorthan asked in perfect English. Its voice was high and musical. You are not Council. You are not Krell. You are something else. I am human, Elena said. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was racing. I am from Earth. The Vorthan's eyes went wide. That is not possible. Humans are primitive. They cannot reach this far into space. They cannot build stations like this. We are better at many things than you might think, Elena said. She moved closer, and the Vorthan did not move away. My name is Elena Martinez. I want to know why the Council is watching my people. I want to know the truth about the abandonment. The Vorthan stared at her for a long moment. Then it spoke. My name is Shen Kao. I am a patrol officer for the Council. And yes, I know about the abandonment. I know about the decision to let your species die. I did not agree with that decision then. I do not agree with it now. Will you help me? Elena asked. Will you help humanity survive? Shen Kao looked at the human woman standing before him. She was small. She was weak compared to most galactic species. But she had reached into space on her own. She had found a hidden monitoring station. She had captured him without weapons. She had courage. She had determination. The Council had called humans worthless. But the Council had been wrong. Yes, Shen Kao said. I will help you. But there is something you need to know. The Council has decided to accelerate the extinction plan. Hunters are being prepared. They will come to Earth within 10 years. They will destroy everything. If your people are to survive, you must prepare for war. Elena felt the weight of the galaxy settle on her shoulders. She had 1 decade to prepare humanity for the fight of their existence. She had to do it in secret. She had to do it without letting the Council know that she knew. And she had to do it knowing that if she failed, the entire human race would be erased from existence. Then we had better get to work, Elena said. Show me everything you know. Shen Kao began to speak, and Elena listened carefully. The hidden rise of humanity was about to begin. The asteroid base was hidden in the outer reaches of the solar system, surrounded by thousands of smaller asteroids that made it almost impossible to detect. General Lucas Hammond walked through the construction bay, watching humans work on the battleship that would lead humanity into war. The ship was called the Perseverance. It was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to match any Council vessel. 10 years had passed since Elena Martinez had captured the Vorthan officer. 10 years of secret development. 10 years of hidden military buildups. 10 years of preparing humanity for a war they did not yet know was coming. The general was 65 years old. He had spent 40 years in the military before being recruited into Elena's secret project. His family had served in the armed forces for generations. His great-grandfather had fought in World War II. His great-grandfather had fought in World War II. Grandfather had fought in Korea. His father had fought in the Middle East. Now Lucas Hammond would lead humanity into a war that would determine whether the species lived or died. Elena had chosen him for this job because he understood strategy. He understood logistics. He understood that winning a war was about more than just weapons and soldiers. It was about planning. It was about knowing your enemy. It was about being willing to do whatever it took to survive. The Perseverance was complete. 7 more battleships were under construction. They were named Defiance, Independence, Resolve, Courage, Triumph, Victory, and Endurance. Each ship would carry 5,000 soldiers. Each ship would carry weapon systems that matched Council technology. And each ship would carry the hopes of every human alive, but not every human knew. That was the genius of Elena's plan. Most of humanity had no idea what was being built. They thought these mining operations in the outer solar system were just business ventures. They thought the military training camps hidden across Earth were routine exercises. They thought the new space stations being built in secret were scientific research facilities. Only 5,000 people knew the truth. 5,000 soldiers and engineers and scientists who had been brought into the secret. 5,000 people who were willing to risk everything for humanity. Captain Victoria Green was one of those 5,000. She stood on the bridge of the Perseverance and looked out at the starfield ahead. The ship was completing its final tests. In 3 months, the fleet would be ready. In 3 months, humanity would stop hiding. Victoria was 38 years old. She had been born into the military like Lucas Hammond. Her mother had been an admiral. Her father had been a fighter pilot. Victoria had joined the military at 18 and had been training for this moment her entire life without knowing it. She had grown up, learning to lead, learning to fight, learning to make decisions that could mean the difference between life and death. Her instructors had pushed her hard. They had tested her. They had prepared her for exactly this kind of responsibility. The bridge of the Perseverance was massive. It could hold 200 crew members. Right now, it held only 20. The ship's systems were being operated by artificial intelligence that Elena had developed using the old files from David Brooks. The AI was named Command 1, and it was smarter than any human. It could process 1,000 times more information than a human brain could handle. "Captain," Command 1 said. Its voice came through the speakers in a calm, neutral tone. "The weapon systems are now fully armed. Combat readiness is 100%. "Good," Victoria said. "I want another full simulation of the approach to Nexus Prime." Nexus Prime was the capital of the Galactic Council. It was where the council members lived. It was where the decision to abandon humanity had been made. It was where humanity would strike first. The simulation began. Victoria watched as the display screens showed the Perseverance approaching the Council's main space station. The station was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Perseverance. Its defenses were legendary. The Council had held power for 10,000 years. No one had ever successfully attacked them, but Victoria had studied the Council's defensive patterns. She had learned their tactics. And she knew something the Council did not know. The Council believed they were invulnerable. They believed that no primitive species could ever threaten them. They have become lazy. They had become predictable. In the simulation, the Perseverance fired its first barrage of weapons. The Council's defensive shields flared to life, but they were not expecting a full attack. They activated partially, which was their mistake. The weapons struck through the gaps in their defenses. The simulation showed massive explosions across the Council station's outer hull. Victoria smiled. The plan would work. Humanity could win. The door to the bridge opened. Elena Martinez entered, carrying a folder full of documents. She looked tired. She had not slept properly in 10 years. "The Council has moved up their timeline," Elena said quietly. Shen Kal's contact within the Council has confirmed it. The extinction order has been finalized. The Council fleets are being mobilized. They will reach Earth in 6 months instead of a year. Victoria felt her stomach tighten. 6 months. They had been planning for more time. General Hammond had wanted another 6 months of training. The other battleships were not all finished yet. But there was no choice. The Council was coming. Humanity had to fight now or die. "I will inform the General," Victoria said. "We can accelerate the launch schedule." "I know we can," Elena said. "That is why I came to you. I need to know that you believe we can win. I need to know that you will not hesitate when the moment comes." Victoria looked at Elena. This woman had been just an explorer 10 years ago. Now she was the leader of humanity's last hope. She had carried the weight of an extinction order for 10 years without breaking. She had kept the secret. She had built an army. And now she was asking Victoria if she believed they could win. Yes, Victoria said. We can win. The Council has been arrogant for too long. They have never faced an enemy that truly wanted to kill them. They have never faced people who had no choice but to fight to the death. That is our advantage. That is how we win. Elena nodded. She believed it too. But belief was not enough. Humanity needed strength. Humanity needed soldiers who could fight and die for something. Humanity needed people like Victoria Green who would not hesitate when the moment came. Over the next 6 months, the remaining battleships were finished. The fleet grew to include not just the 7 finished battleships, but 50 cruisers, 200 destroyers, and 1,000 support vessels. It was the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. It was a fleet built in the shadows, powered by the determination to survive. Elena brought in more aliens. Shenkal had connections. There were other beings in the galaxy who disagreed with the Council. There were species that had been oppressed by the Council's power. There were individuals who saw an opportunity to change the galactic order. One by one, they came to Elena. One by one, they agreed to fight. A Nixian warrior named Kesmore became Victoria's second-in-command. A cellar scientist named Zekbar provided weapons designs that would complement human technology. A free trader named Marcus provided intelligence about Council movements. And slowly, carefully, humanity built an alliance that the Council did not even know existed. On the morning that the Perseverance left the asteroid base for the final time, General Lucas Hammond gathered all of humanity's commanders together. It was a small group, maybe 200 people. But these 200 people represented the entire military strength of the human race. The Council thinks we are dead, the general said. The Council thinks we are primitive and weak. The Council thinks we can be destroyed easily. The Council is wrong. We are about to teach them a lesson they will never forget. We are about to show them what happens when you underestimate the human spirit. We are about to fight for our homes, our families, and our future. And we are going to win. The commanders cheered. Victoria Green stood at attention, her heart burning with determination. In a few weeks, they would reach Council space. In a few weeks, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not gone. In a few weeks, the hidden army would reveal itself, and humanity would fight for the right to exist. The Perseverance emerged from hyperspace like a ghost coming back from the dead. Behind it came the entire human fleet, weapons charged and shields raised. The Council's capital station, Nexus Prime, was directly ahead. It hung in space like a great metal flower, beautiful and terrifying. Victoria Green sat in the captain's chair and felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on her shoulders. All ships report ready for combat, the communications officer said. His name was Paul, and his hands were shaking slightly. Most of the crew was young. Most of them had never seen actual combat before. Fire control systems online, the weapons officer added. All weapons locked on target. Nexus Prime's defenses began to activate. The massive station had shield generators on every side. It had weapons platforms scattered across its entire surface. It had been designed to be impregnable. But Victoria had studied those defenses for months. She knew every weakness. She knew exactly where to hit. All ships, begin attack pattern Alpha, Victoria commanded. Focus fire on sectors 7 through 9. This is it. No more hiding. No more waiting. We fight for Earth. We fight for the future of humanity. Execute. The human fleet opened fire. Thousands of weapons discharged at once, lighting up the darkness of space like a sun suddenly erupting. The barrage hit Nexus Prime's shields with tremendous force. The shields flared and flickered. They held, but only barely. On Nexus Prime's command level, the Council members were in chaos. They had never been attacked before. They had never thought it was possible to be attacked. They were the rulers of the galaxy. Nobody challenged them. Nobody could challenge them. Ambassador Krell 7 stared at the screen showing the incoming attack. His face went pale. The attacking ships were using Council technology, but that was impossible. Only Council members had Council technology. These ships were not Council ships. These were something else. Then understanding hit him like a physical blow. These were human ships. It cannot be, Krell 7 said out loud. Humanity is primitive. They cannot possibly reach this far into space. They have, another council member said. The Vorthan representative named Shenkel looked at Krell 7 with an expression that was almost sad. You abandoned them, Krell 7. You thought they would die in their ignorance and their weakness. But humans are not weak. They are resourceful. They are determined. And they are here. Nexus Prime shields were beginning to fail. The human attack was overwhelming. Victoria's tactics were perfect. She was hitting every weak point at the same time. The Council's defenders were too slow to react. Shields at 40%. The tactical officer on the Perseverance reported. Enemy weapons platforms are being destroyed. We are maintaining tactical advantage. The Perseverance moved directly toward Nexus Prime's main docking bay. Victoria's plan was not just to destroy the station from the outside. She was going to take it. She was going to seize the heart of Council power. Prepare boarding teams, Victoria ordered. Captain Daniel Shaw, you have command of the 1st Assault Group. Your objective is the main command center. Do not fail. Understood, ma'am, Daniel Shaw replied. He was one of humanity's finest soldiers. He was 40 years old, with the build of someone who had trained his entire life for combat. He had 5,000 soldiers under his command. They were the best humanity had to offer. The Perseverance docked with Nexus Prime. Explosions rocked the human ship as Council weapons tried to prevent the docking. But Victoria's shields held. The airlock sealed, and 5,000 human soldiers moved into Nexus Prime's corridors. Elena Martinez was with the assault team. She wore combat armor like the rest of the soldiers, but her weapon was not a gun. Her weapon was knowledge. She had studied David Brooks' files. She understood Council architecture. She understood how the Council thought. And she understood that she was about to face Ambassador Krell 7 directly. Shenkel was also with the assault team. The Vorthan officer moved with practiced efficiency, his alien physiology giving him advantages in the gravity of Nexus Prime. He and Elena had become partners over the past decade. She trusted him completely. Kesmore, the Nixian warrior, fought beside them. He was huge, almost 10 feet tall, with a muscular frame covered in bioluminescent markings. Council soldiers tried to block the human advance. Kesmore destroyed them without hesitation. The team fought their way deeper into Nexus Prime. The Council's security forces were organized and well-trained. But they were not expecting to face an enemy this fierce, this determined, and this willing to die. For every human soldier that fell, 10 Council security troops were destroyed. Third level ahead, Elena said. She was reading the station's schematics from a stolen Council datapad. The command center is 2 more levels up. The team moved faster. They could hear the sounds of explosions above them. Victoria Green was still attacking the station's outer defenses. The shield generators were failing. The station was being torn apart. Finally, they reached the command center. The doors were sealed. Council soldiers stood guard inside. Elena did not hesitate. She charged toward the doors, and the soldiers opened fire. Plasma bolts came at her like angry red lightning, but her shields held. The rest of the team returned fire, and the Council soldiers fell. The doors exploded inward. Elena burst through. Ambassador Krell 7 stood in the center of the command room. He was not hiding. He was not running. He was waiting. And in his hand, he held a plasma pistol. It was pointed at Elena's chest. "So," Krell 7 said. His voice was cold and steady. "The vermin has come to the palace. How did you learn to do this, human? Where did you get this technology?" "From you," Elena said. She did not lower her weapon. "My ancestor took your knowledge when you visited Earth. He kept it safe. He passed it down through generations. We learned. We built. We survived. Everything you thought we could never do, we did." "Then you have made a terrible mistake," Krell 7 said. "You cannot win. There are council fleets coming. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They will destroy you utterly. Humanity will be erased from existence. Your entire civilization will be forgotten within a century." Elena took a step forward. Krell 7 fired his weapon. Elena felt the heat of the plasma bolt as it passed inches from her face. It hit the wall behind her and left a smoking crater. But she did not stop. She kept moving toward him. "You are right about one thing," Elena said. "There will be more battles. There will be more fighting. But you are wrong about who will win. We will win because we have something your species lost a long time ago. We have hope. We have determination. We have the ability to look at impossible odds and say yes anyway. We will fight. We will bleed. We will die if necessary. But we will not be erased. Humanity will not be forgotten." Elena was close now. Krell 7 fired again. This time Elena did not dodge. She walked through his fire. The plasma bolts burned her armor, but her shields held. She reached him in 3 more strides and struck him with the butt of her weapon. Krell 7 flew backward and crashed against the command console. He was not dead. Elena could have killed him. She could have shot him while he lay on the ground. But she did not. Instead, she walked to the command console and began typing. She accessed the council's central communication system. She prepared a broadcast that would go out to every world, every station, every ship in the entire galaxy. "What are you doing?" Krell 7 asked. He was rising slowly, blood dripping from his mouth. "Telling them the truth." Elena said. The broadcast went out. "This is Elena Martinez from the human world of Earth. The Galactic Council has fallen. Their rule has ended. We have come to claim our place among the stars. We are not asking for permission. We are not asking for permission. We are taking what is ours by right. We are free. We are alive. And we will never bow to tyranny again." Outside the station, Victoria Green watched as the Council's final shields came down. She watched as her weapons fire started tearing Nexus Prime apart. She watched as the command center became dark, the station's power systems failing. Enemy defenses neutralized, her tactical officer reported. "We have control of Nexus Prime." Victoria allowed herself a smile. They had done it. They had actually done it. Humanity had attacked the center of council power and won. The galaxy would never be the same again. The news traveled through the galaxy faster than light. Nexus Prime had fallen. The Galactic Council had been defeated. Humanity, a species they thought was primitive and worthless, had conquered the center of power. The shock waves rippled through every star system, every world, every civilization. Some celebrated. Some feared. Some simply waited to see what would happen next. Elena Martinez sat in the command center of Nexus Prime, now the headquarters of the new Galactic Alliance. The room was massive. Council members used to sit here and make decisions that affected billions of lives. Now Elena sat here, and the weight of those decisions fell on her shoulders. She was not a military commander. She was an explorer. She had never wanted this kind of power. But the galaxy was like a broken clock after the Council's fall. Everyone was looking for someone to fix it. Everyone was looking for someone to lead. And Elena was the only one who understood what had happened and why not there were messages coming in from across the galaxy. Some were congratulatory. The oppressed species who had been held down by the Council were celebrating. The Nixian people sent their formal congratulations. The free traders sent their alliance proposals. The smaller civilizations that had been forced to pay tribute to the Council for centuries were finally free. But not everyone was celebrating. The Council's military faction is refusing to accept the new order, General Lucas Hammond reported. He was sitting across from Elena in the command center. The general was now the supreme military commander of all human forces. It was a position he had never wanted, but he was the right person for the job. How many ships? Elena asked. Hundreds, Hammond said grimly. Maybe more. They are rallying to assist him in the outer reaches. They are calling themselves the Galactic Preservation Force. They say they are fighting to restore Council order. They are calling us invaders and conquerors. Elena closed her eyes. She had hoped the Council's fall would bring peace. But of course, it had not. The Council had maintained power for 10,000 years by force. It would take more force to ensure they never came back. We will need a second campaign, Elena said. But this one will be different. We will not be fighting for survival. We will be fighting to ensure the galaxy never goes back to the way it was. Captain Victoria Green was promoted to Supreme Commander of the Galactic Defense Force. It was a position of enormous power and responsibility. Victoria had commanded a single battleship during the assault on Nexus Prime. Now she would command thousands of ships. She would be responsible for the safety of the entire galaxy. She did not want the position, but she accepted it because it was necessary. She moved to a new command station, one that had been built specifically for a supreme commander. She began the work of organizing and coordinating the defense against the Council's remaining forces. We cannot win a war of attrition, Victoria told Elena during their strategy meetings. The Council's military faction has been preparing for centuries. They have resources and weapons we do not yet understand. If we try to match them ship for ship, we will lose. Then, what is our alternative? Elena asked. We have to make them understand that the war is already over, Victoria said. We have to make them see that supporting the Council's preservation is a losing proposition. We have to offer them a choice. Join the new order or be destroyed. It took 3 months, but Victoria's strategy worked. One by one, the Council's military units began to surrender. Some switched sides completely. Some simply refused to continue fighting. The radical faction that remained was isolated and powerless. Within a year of Nexus Prime's fall, the war was effectively over. Elena stood before the Galactic Assembly. It was a new institution, one she had helped create. Unlike the old Council, which was controlled by just 5 species, the Galactic Assembly had representatives from over 1,000 worlds. Every species had a voice. Every civilization had a vote. We have gathered here today, Elena said, speaking to an audience of millions watching across the galaxy, to write a new code of law for our galaxy. The old Galactic Council governed through fear and force. They judged species and civilizations as worthy or unworthy. They decided who should have power and who should be destroyed. That era is finished. Elena paused. She could see the faces of the Galactic Assembly. Some were human. Some were alien. Some had tentacles. Some had wings. Some had no face as humans understood faces. But all of them were listening. All of them understood the magnitude of what was happening. We are here to create something better, Elena continued. We are here to create a government where power comes from the people, not from military strength. We are here to create a system where no single species can dominate another. We are here to create a galaxy where the weak are protected and the strong are restrained. We are here to create justice. The Assembly approved the new charter. It was called the United Galactic Alliance. It replaced the old council with a democratic system where every species had representation. It established laws that prevented any civilization from enslaving or destroying another. It created a system of justice where disputes were resolved through negotiation. Not warfare. Earth became the capital of the new alliance. The human world that had been abandoned to die was now the center of galactic civilization. Ships from thousands of worlds came to Earth. They came to see the species that had defied the Council. They came to learn how humans had survived and thrived without help. Young humans grew up knowing that their ancestors had done something extraordinary. They grew up knowing that humans had been marked for extinction and had fought back. They grew up knowing that the stars belonged to them now, that Earth was no longer a backwater world, but the heart of a galactic government. General Lucas Hammond eventually retired from military service. He spent his final years writing about the war and the strategy that won it. Military academies across the galaxy studied his tactics. He became one of the most famous military strategists in galactic history. Captain Victoria Green served as Supreme Commander for 20 years. She established the Galactic Defense Force as a truly neutral organization, not controlled by any single species or government. She created laws that prevented the kind of military dominance that had allowed the Council to rule for so long. When she finally retired, she had the satisfaction of knowing that her work had helped create genuine peace. Elena Martinez lived for another 40 years after the fall of Nexus Prime. She wrote about the philosophy of government. She wrote about the nature of justice. She wrote about what it meant to be human and what it meant to belong to a galactic civilization. She became one of the most influential thinkers of her time. But more than anything, Elena wrote about her great-great-grandfather, David Brooks. She made sure his story was preserved. She made sure the galaxy understood what one man's determination could accomplish. She made sure everyone understood that humanity had been saved not by luck or by charity from others, but by the refusal to accept defeat. On her 90th birthday, Elena stood at the same observation dome where she had first read her great-grandfather's files. She looked out at the stars. The sky was not empty anymore. Thousands of ships passed through human space every day. Thousands of different species lived and worked and built their futures together. Thousands of different species together. Memorial had been built at the location where the first contact had occurred. It bore the names of all the humans who had died defending their world. It bore the names of the soldiers who had fought at Nexus Prime. It bore the names of David Brooks and Marcus Brooks and all the keepers of the secret who had made humanity's survival possible. Elena thought about the day when the Council had voted to abandon humanity. She thought about how they had decided that humans were not worth saving. She thought about how they had been so very wrong. The galaxy had changed. The old order was gone. The new order was imperfect, but it was built on justice and equality rather than on force and fear. It was built on the idea that every species had value. Every civilization had something to contribute. And at the center of it all was humanity. Humanity which had been abandoned. Humanity which had been marked for extinction. Humanity which had survived through determination and courage and an unwillingness to accept defeat. The stars shone brightly in Earth's sky. Elena looked up at them and smiled. Somewhere up there, in whatever form the afterlife took, David Brooks was looking down. And he would finally be proud. Humanity had not just survived. Humanity had not just triumphed. Humanity had risen to become the moral center of the galaxy. The message was simple and eternal. Never underestimate the human spirit. Never believe that abandonment will break us. We endure, we adapt, we overcome, and we will always fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. Humanity had come to the stars, and the galaxy would never be the same.